नमस्कार दोस्तों और जय हिंद। आप सभी को स्वागत है इन माय चैनल 1971 वॉर बुक सीरीज। तो एक्चुअली मैं आज एक नॉट अ वॉरियर के बारे में बात करने वाला हूं। आज मैं बात करने वाला हूं वेस्ट बंगाल का स्टेट्समैन का एक जाने माने जर्नलिस्ट जो 1971 के जंग में बांग्लादेश में घुस गया था टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट वाज एग्जैक्टली हैपनिंग after the commencement of Operation Searchlight in East Pakistan by the Pakistani forces। उन्होंने खुद from the end of March 1971 से बांग्लादेश के अंदर मुक्ति बाहिनी के साथ मिलके बहुत सारे जगह में गए थे जहां पे मुक्ति बाहिनी ने ऑर्गेनाइज्ड डिफेंस रेडी किया था, जहां पे पाकिस्तानी फौज ने बहुत सारे मैसेकर्स किए थे एंड इवन he was shot at by the Pakistani forces। He had to take the help of BSF and the Mukti Bahini alongside photographers from the Indian press to help him in this venture of bringing out the ground zero report from East Pakistan। जब भारतीय फौज ने बांग्लादेश में हमला किया था और मुक्ति बाहिनी के साथ मिलके पाकिस्तानी फौज का कोरमा बनाया था, तब तो वो ऑफिशियली एक वॉर कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट बन गए थे फॉर द इंडियन आर्मीज 9 इन्फेंट्री डिवीजन एंड ही वाज वन ऑफ द मैन हु हैड कवर्ड द सरेंडर ऑफ द पाकिस्तानी 107 इन्फेंट्री ब्रिगेड टू द इंडियन आर्मीज 9 इन्फेंट्री डिवीजन एट खुलना सर्किट हाउस। सो लेट्स वेलकम टू आवर प्रोग्राम former legendary journalist of the Statesman, Mr. Manash Ghosh। So today I am at the home of Mr. Manash Ghosh, who was actually a war correspondent during the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, and it's actually a very much of an honor to finally meet you, sir. My pleasure. And thank you, sir, for giving me the grand opportunity to finally talk to you, where you can share about your experiences that you had as a journalist in the 71 war. So I would like you to sort of like begin. How did you actually get involved as a journalist, and then how you have taken part in going and noticing the action that was happening in the war, sir? I know that the Indian Army came a bit later on, and like you were involved in covering the Mukti Bahini operations at times, and also noticing the Pakistani Army atrocities that were happening, because you went in a bit before the Indian Army, right, sir?
Very much.
So, if you could talk about that, everybody could get to know.
My involvement as a war correspondent, there was a censorship. The Pakistan government had imposed censorship on all news emanating from Dhaka, from then East Pakistan. Right. So nothing was coming out or getting published in the newspaper. And in those days, newspapers and radio broadcasts were the main sources of information. So, but they were getting no information as to what was happening in East Pakistan, especially the genocidal attack of the 25th March night, Operation Searchlight. Nobody knew except, one dispatch from Dhaka in Delhi Telegraph by Salmon Ring, who hoodwinked the Pakistan Army and chose to stay behind in Dhaka and go around Dhaka during night on 26th and 27th March night, and saw the extent of the killings that had happened. So except his dispatch, which appeared in Delhi Telegraph in London, except that there was hardly any information coming out, and whatever was coming out, they were so few and far between, and that it was not the kind of interest. It didn't address the interest of the people as to what was happening in Bangladesh, indeed in East Pakistan.
So you were at that time in
Kolkata? I was very much here, and in fact that prompted me. In fact, I got a dressing down from a very senior Indian MP the Communist Party of India, Mr. Bhupesh Gupta, whom I met on 27th March at a get together, and he asked me the whereabouts of Sheikh Mujib. I said till then, nobody knew what had happened to Sheikh Mujib's fate. Nobody knew that he had been taken to West Pakistan and imprisoned there. So he asked me that, and Bhupesh Gupta was very close to Mrs. Gandhi. He was one of her closest confidants, and he was basically her eyes and ears, political eyes and ears. One of the, not the only.
Maybe in West Bengal.
No, not West Bengal. He used to stay in Delhi, and since he was from Dhaka, he had wide contacts with the left leaders of the Bangladesh left movement. So he was a very respected figure in the left movement in the subcontinent. So Mrs. Gandhi used to get a lot of feedback from him also. So when he asked me that, aren't you ashamed that you call yourself a reporter of the Statesman, a paper like Statesman reporter, you don't know what's happening there. That night I could not sleep because the dressing down I got from him, it hurt my ego, journalistic ego. I said I must do something. Next day what happened was there was a small news item which appeared in almost all the papers. It was a Bangkok Dateline story which quoted eyewitnesses. It was a Reuters or AP, I think it was AP report. It was an AP report which quoted foreign returnees who had come back from Dhaka by the first flight after the operation, Searchlight, and who were quoted as saying that large-scale devastation had taken place, large-scale killings had taken place. It was almost, he had seen lorries carrying hundreds of dead bodies. Hundreds of dead bodies were being carried in out of Dhaka city for burial outside Dhaka. So that report, when I read it, and I said, well, I think something can be done. I said, and we were getting reports that, in Jessore, which was just across the border, fighting was on between the Mukti Bahini had not come into being till then. It was a Sanjukta Sangram Parishad, volunteers of Sanjukta Sangram Parishad who were fighting the Pakistan army, and they had pushed the Pakistani military back into the cantonment from the town.
Okay.
So I said I must go to Jessore and see what's happening.
So at that time you were based in Kolkata.
Kolkata. I was based in Kolkata. I was not assigned. I was not assigned. I, on my own, with a photographer office photographer, he also volunteered. We went via Bashirhat, Itindaghat to Shatkhira, Gojaranga border. Across the border, the BSF would not let us cross. Said we are not allowing Indians to go to this, very highly unsafe. And this is an area which is infested with Jamaat Razakars. Okay. So it will be very unsafe. We can't let you go like this. I said I'm writing it down that I am going there across at my own risk, and no one else is responsible but for me if anything happens, untoward happens to me. So they let me go, and I reached Shatkhira. That was 31st March, mind you. It was 31st March. I spent the night at Shatkhira. The local volunteers of the Parishad, they put me and our photographer, Mr. Shudin Roy, who stayed in Wabda Guest House. Wabda Guest House. And next morning, we were woken up saying that a fire brigade truck was going to Jessore with replenishment and arms and EPR Jawans, and if we wanted to go to Jessore, we could hop a ride in that vehicle.
Okay.
So, which we did readily, and we reached Jessore. We left Satkhira at about 7 in the morning, reached Jessore around 11ish.
Okay.
It took us almost 4 hours. On the way, there were small towns like Jikorgacha. We reached, our vehicle was stopped in the outskirts of Jessore town. There's a place called Chachor Moor. Chachor, there's a Rajbari there. It's a huge Rajbari. It's a desolate. Only it used to be a palace once upon a time, but it had fallen on hard times. It's turned into a big basti where poor people live. And there our vehicle was stopped by the Shangram Parishad volunteers. And they said, come and see what kind of healing has been done. They were all crying, absolutely. And we got down. We were taken to a water body, a huge pond, where we found a pyramid like, bodies had been stacked one over the other like a pyramid. And the bodies were mostly of females in burqas.
These were just civilians.
Civilians who had been killed by the Pakistani army, and their bodies stacked like a pyramid on the bank of that water body pond. Blood was still oozing out of their bodies, and it was so ghastly sight that I just couldn't stand. The photographer refused to take pictures, saying that I can't, I have never seen such a ghastly sight in my life. So I said, you have to take it. He took pictures. Then we went to town. We went to a place called Pilkhana, where fighting was on between.
I mean, this is Pilkhana close to Jessore area, not Dhaka.
No. Jessore area. There's a Pilkhana there also.
Okay.
Outside the cantonment. They had built mud walls, behind which they had taken up positions, these EPR men.
Okay.
And I saw the Flagstaff house of Jessore cantonment with Pakistan flag flying on top. And firing was going on, intense firing was going on. And
at that time, I guess Pakistanis were attacking the 1st East Bengal Regiment and the 7th Field Ambulance. Bengali soldiers. Because there was a fighting.
That was, that kind of fighting was on all throughout. But here they had been driven back into the cantonment by the volunteers of the Shangram Parishad. They were pushed back. They fought back heroically, and suddenly there was a burst of a mortar shell, which came and hit the bunker, one of the bunkers of the positions of the EPR, and I was told that I better move out, otherwise my life would be at stake. He says, "Aapni chole jane ekan theke, otherwise you might get hurt."
Okay.
Because the Pakistan we find they're intensifying their attack.
Okay.
So I moved out in a jeep, provided with the Shangram Parishad volunteers. They took me around the whole of town, and I found the morale very high, very high. There was no electricity, no water in Jessore town at that time. All the offices were closed, government banks, nothing was working. And volunteers with bandoliers across their chest and guns in hand were moving around the town and firing shots in the air. And when they came to know that Calcutta reporter had come to cover the war, they were too happy. And they fired bursts of gunfire into the air in happiness. And so after about 2 hours, I had a fairly good impression that people were really fighting back, and they were not going to put down their arms just like this. until the victory was achieved.
Okay.
I was convinced about it from the discussions that I had with the Mukti Joddhas.
Okay.
আমরা জিতেই
We will win or we will die.
we will die. So, and there was no food, mind you. There was no food. They were carrying tins of biscuits with them, and there was no water, nothing of the kind.
Okay.
Only a few serviceable hand pumps were working, outside which there were long, huge queues of people.
Okay.
It was terrible sight. It was a terrible sight. Suddenly I found two small planes flying over, doing a recce of the town.
Pakistani planes.
Pakistani planes. They wanted to see the positions of the Mukti Joddhas. The planes came when we reached the fire station, Jasso fire station. Suddenly the vehicle, the driver stopped the vehicle and moved up the tower, the watchtower of the fire brigade, and on top, and started firing at the planes.
Okay.
And the planes sped away. And I said, now whatever I had to know about the kind of fight that was being put up by the Bengalis, I had all the details. I better go return back to town.
Okay.
So I came back loaded with pictures, and there was.
By now it was April.
This was 31st March.
31st March.
This was 31st March.
Okay.
While coming back, I returned via Benapol Petropol border. There I, for the first time, saw Hindu refugees with their belongings on their head and in their arms, coming over to India, heading towards the Indian border.
Okay.
And I reported it. I said, already there's an exodus. And next day, my story, that was the first eyewitness account of a war, on the spot eyewitness account of war, backed with pictures. The Statesman carried my dispatch as page 1 story with picture under block, and one page was devoted to entirely to the pictures.
Okay.
About the town, about the Mukti Joddhas and all. So next day, the Statesman got sold in half an hour to an hour's time after they hit the newsstand.
Okay.
And it was sold in the black for, it was then 8 annas, I think. It was sold for 5 rupees, 6, 7 rupees in the black. The news vendors, paper vendors made good money that day. They made good money that day, and that whetted my appetite. The news was read by, the same news appeared in the Delhi edition of the Statesman also, and Delhi being the base of all the foreign correspondents, at once it caught the attention of Delhi-based South Asian correspondents of London Times, Guardian, and they came rushing to Calcutta the same day. So in the morning only they arrived, after reading. They arrived and came to Statesman in search of me, just to know, whether they could accompany me to, whether I was contemplating. That day it was very hectic. It had been a very hectic day for me. I decided not to go to take rest. They came to my residence. I was then a bachelor. I was living in a bachelor's flat with my servant, and they came to my house, a modest one-room tenement, and said that they wanted to accompany me wherever I went. The news caught the attention of people in Delhi. Bhupesh Babu, who had said me such very rude things about me, about my professional abilities and all, he read my report in the Delhi edition of the Statesman, and he called back saying that uh, he called the Calcutta office.
Okay.
But since I was not there, I was taking rest. An office car came and fetched me and said the editor wanted to meet me.
Okay.
He met me and said that my report was very objective and it had created a stir, and that he said that henceforth there will be a car available to me every day early in the morning to take me to any of the borders that I wanted to visit, with the rider that I should not take excessive risk.
Yes.
I should not go deep inside and get killed. If
This
that
was
happens,
very risky because fighting was going on all the time.
fighting was going on, and just then the report had come in that two freelancers of Amrita Bajar Putrika, Deepak Bandyopadhyay and another one, some Ghosha, Surajit Ghosha, they were killed.
Kumilla side.
In Kumilla side. In Tripura, they had crossed over from Agartala border, and they were trapped and they were slaughtered.
Kolkata Press Club has a memorial
dedicated to them.
Yeah.
So the editor said that you better be careful. Statesman won't be responsible if anything happens to you. I said, you don't worry, sir. It's my responsibility. But the next day, that was 2nd or 3rd April, I went to Gede border. Gede.
Opposite is Darsana.
Darsana. There's a rail line which was no longer in use.
Actually, now it has been.
It is operational. Yeah. It is operational, but then it was under covered with bushes and all, and infested with snakes and all. So I wanted to go over. The BSF would not allow me. They said that there's lots of snakes there, and there is a nala also. If you fall into that nala, you had it. There's a lot of water in it. And they asked me whether I knew swimming. I said, I don't know. But then said, no one will be able to save you. So I again said that I'm going there at my own risk. So at my own risk, I balanced my way through those railway tracks and entered the Darshana station precincts, because adjoining is the station. As the border ends, international border ends, the premises of Darshana station starts, railway station. And there the people were waiting for me. Shangbadik Kolkata থেকে আইছেন, yes, come to cover the war. বলে এখানে তো কিছু নাই, nothing is happening here, you'll have to go to Chuadanga, we'll get a car for you. They put me in a jeep and I reached Chuadanga. That was the first time I went to Abu Osman Chaudhry's Western Command headquarters. And there met Dr. Ashabul Haq also, the local MPA, member of the Provincial Assembly. They were a bit surprised that an Indian correspondent had come all the way from Calcutta. And Ashabul Haq was a radical humanist, mind you, follower of the founder of radical humanism. What's his name? I forget. Whatever it is, I went through the town. While I was there, the word had gone around that the Chuadanga had become the sector headquarter of the Western Command, the Shangram Purishad. And where the police and EPR men had joined forces, and they had already taken over that area, especially taken charge of Kushtia town. They had one company of, I think it's, again, I think it was a Baluch regiment.
Baluch regiment.
Which had been
the exact name. Maybe it was some
seventh Baluch.
It was a double-digit Baluch regiment. I don't remember. Major Shohrab was commanding that company, and he was killed. His company was completely destroyed by the Mukti Bahini later on. And Kushtia.
So
I'll find
they had hoisted the flag. They took charge of Kushtia also, this joint command of police and EPR men, and freed the town from the Pakistani army, hoisted the flag, Bangladesh flag, and unfurled the flag on top of the Choda command headquarters also. So while I was there, I was very lucky that I didn't get killed. There was a bombing attack of Pakistan Air Force. They came and attacked the barracks of EPR. And I think 50 to 60 men got killed who were there inside the barracks. And it was a ghastly sight. And so I decided to come back to Kolkata. There was a photographer again with me, and reported the ghastly incident and reported the matter, and that also with pictures, illustrated with pictures, carried a lot of weight. One day I got the next day, that day itself, when the news appeared in Statesman, that day I got a call from one General Sarkar.
Major General B.N. Sarkar.
B.N. Sarkar.
He's called Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Aviator glasses, I've seen his picture. Yeah.
Jimmy. He was very close to, I came to know later, very close to Manash Ghosh. And Manash Ghosh had entrusted him with the task of finding out as to what was happening inside. His job was to, he said, I have read your report, I have read your Jasur report, this report also, so I am coming over, I will meet you at the United Services Officers Club at Fort William. When I come, I'll have the car sent to you. So my reports were getting noticed in the right circles, and
because the Indian Army needed to know what was happening, so that they could evaluate everything.
Very much so. And in the meantime, got to know that some very senior leaders of the Awami League had crossed over to India. Who they were and where they were staying, I didn't know. But they were very senior leaders, very senior leaders. So I had a very good friend, very senior to me in the profession, Shukharanjan Sengupta of Jugantar. He had good contacts in the intelligence. He told me that a fellow called Tajuddin, because Tajuddin was not a very known name. It was all Mujib. It was all Mujib and nobody else whom we knew. He had come with 2-3 senior leaders, and they had been moved away to Delhi for a meeting with Mrs. Gandhi. They said to talk to Golok Majumdar. So next day I went to Golok Babu. He told me that yes, he had gone and brought them from the border to Delhi, and they had gone to Delhi for a meeting with Mrs. Gandhi. Mrs. Gandhi wanted to meet them so as to know, the real ground situation, what was happening in Bangladesh. Because what Delhi was, Deputy High Commissioner in Dhaka had been closed down by then.
Okay.
So there were no regular reports.
Mhm.
Whatever was coming via Islamabad was third, fourth, fifth hand reports.
Yeah.
So Delhi had no knowledge as to what was happening.
And they wouldn't say what they were doing in East Pakistan.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You covered the provisional government taking oath.
I'll tell you. So Mrs. Gandhi wanted to meet them, and she met them on 3rd of April. 3rd of April, at the PMO. And prior to their arrival, prior to Tajuddin's arrival and Barrister Amirul Islam's arrival, two senior economists, Rahman Soban and Anisur Rahman, they had already landed in Delhi. They were good friends of Ashok Mitra, who was economic advisor then. Mrs. Gandhi's economic advisor. They were very close to Ashok Mitra.
Okay.
So they, via Bangkok, came to Delhi without any passport, without any visa, nothing of the kind. So they were stopped at they took the name of Ashok Mitra, and Ashok Mitra went running to the airport, brought them to his house, and took them to P.N. Huxley, Prime Minister Secretary.
Okay.
Prime Minister Secretary, and there they gave him some kind of a lowdown, a broad outline about what had happened, and Huxley said that Tajuddin and Amirul Islam were on way to Delhi, so they will be having a meeting with Mrs. Gandhi. Whatever. So the first meeting in Delhi, Tajuddin asked for help from India. He said that what he said sounded just like what King Porus told Alexander the Great, that I want to be treated like a head of a independent government of Bangladesh, of a sovereign country, and if you are willing to give me that kind of treatment, I will I will seek help from you. Okay. Otherwise, I will not stay in India. I will move out. What will Mrs. Gandhi said? There is no problem. We will give you all the protocols that a head of a government enjoys, and he was given that. He says that's not a problem. So first thing he said that I need arms equipment for my boys who are willing to fight till the end. They are determined to make East Pakistan, Bangladesh, an independent country, and we need your help. So Mrs. Gandhi said, that's all right, I agree, but then first you have to have a government of your own. So we already have a government. It has already been formed under Sheikh Mujib as the president. I am the Prime Minister. He said that is between you and the party hierarchy, known to party hierarchy, but it's not known to outside world. So what you have to do is you have to form a government of your own in India, in full view of foreign correspondents and Indian correspondents. Do a swearing-in ceremony inside a territory which is still controlled by your forces, and we shall provide the needed security, and that is because when the swearing-in is on and if the Pakistanis start coming in, and that be a total loss of face. So Tajuddin said, exactly, I am also thinking on the same line. He said, already there are about 100 odd foreign correspondents in Calcutta. I am asking my people to get them together, and now you have to find a place where the swearing-in ceremony will take place. So he told Rustamji, the DG BSF, that find a suitable place. So they consulted the map of Bangladesh. They found a place which is surrounded on three sides by India. It juts into the Indian territory. So, if there is any emergency, the Indian forces from three sides can enter and take on the Pakistanis
If needed.
if that eventuality happens. So, what happened? The PRO of the military and the BSF, one Mr. Shamor Bose, they got in touch with all the foreign correspondents. They visited each and every hotel in Calcutta and to find out whether foreign correspondents are staying, and extended an invitation that on 17th morning, early morning at 4 in the morning, you have to reach the Calcutta Press Club, from where we'll take you to an unknown destination. It was not revealed that,
It would be Meherpur.
Meherpur, it would be Buddhanath-Tala, Meherpur. So we'll take you to an unknown destination. So that led to a lot of surprise. What this unknown destination, where to and for what? Nobody could, guess that. Well, government in exile was in the making. So early in the morning of 17th at 4, I was also in that motorcade of 60 cars. Left Calcutta, along headed by Golok Muzumdar, and is under the protection of special commandos. Tajuddin Ahmed, Sayyid Nazrul Islam, and other members of his government who were to be sworn in were in the motorcade, in the cars. I found Barrister Amirul Islam reading the Declaration of Independence Charter, and so it took us almost 4 hours to reach Buddhanath-Tala.
Okay.
The foreign correspondents were mighty displeased. They want to know what is this joke that was going on. Buddhanath-Tala, I don't know whether it's a huge mango grove is there, huge mango grove, and it was sweet smell of mango flowers had filled there, and it was, and it provided, the grove provided natural, protection
Against Pakistani.
air raid. So there we found that a stage was being set up, microphones had been arranged, a guard of honor had been was being there during the rehearsal. Group of artists were singing Amar Sonar Bangla and all, and suddenly the lighter side of it is that there was no musical instruments were available.
Okay.
So word was sent to the neighboring Indian villages across the border to get a harmonium and a tabla. So they were requisitioned, they were found and brought. So these are and eventually the program started. The place was teeming with people, teeming. They were on top of trees, trying to get a look as to what was happening there down below. A stage had been set up, microphone system was working, there was a flag staff on which the Bangladesh flag was being tied up, which was to be hoisted, and suddenly the announcement started that there will be a declaration of independence, saying that from this government in exile is being formed on the basis of the results of the Pakistan 8th December elections of 1970. All those representatives who were elected to the National Assembly, Pakistan Assembly, are its MPs, and they are the ministers, some of whom will take as oath as, as ministers of the interim government, the government exile. So it started, the election was gone through. The whole idea was that it was a legally constituted government which had people's mandate, uh, democratically elected. So there's nothing illegal about it, or nothing was being foisted upon. The people's choice was getting reflected in its formation. And so there was.
And you covered it.
I covered it. I covered it. Sayyid Nazrul Islam was made the acting president in the absence of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Tajuddin was the prime minister. This man, Khundaka Mushtaq was the foreign minister. M.A.G. Osmani was the commander in chief of the three services, and the defense minister also, and the home minister was Kamrul Zaman. And there was guard of honor given to Nazrul Islam. The national anthem was played, and the whole place was reverberating with slogans like Joy Bangla, Sheikh Mujib, তোমার নেতা আমার নেতা Sheikh Mujib, Bangladesh চিরজীবী হোক. All kinds of slogans were being raised at the venue, and people had really gone wild. That that something was happening towards Bangladesh's independence. One step had been taken. So we all came back. The foreign journalists, they got a shock that such a thing had been done in such a massive, all throughout this. Golok Mulda was there. He kept telling us, "Tatari kun, jikono shomoy oghoton ghute jete pare, anything can happen anytime. So be quick with your engagements." And it took about 1.5 hours to get all the programs through, and we came back to Calcutta. There was one urgency for Golok Mulda to come back to Calcutta was that next day he had already arranged Hossein Ali, who was the Deputy High Commissioner of Pakistan in Calcutta, that he will switch his allegiance to the interim government.
They were going to defect.
They were going to defect. So Hossein Ali, we reached Calcutta late in the evening, and it created a stir. The foreign correspondents were taken aback that such a major thing had happened without much fanfare and all, without anybody knowing it. The Pakistanis were taken aback that such a thing had happened. But the foreign correspondents knew that now that it's a different ball game.
And this was after the 10th of April.
This was the 10th of April. 17th April was the swearing in ceremony. 18th was the defection. And that changed the complete. That was a turning point, mind you. That was a turning point. It sent the message all over the world that all the Bengalis who were serving in the Pakistan Foreign Service, they should switch their allegiance to the government in exile. And that's what exactly happened. That's what exactly happened. There are many interesting stories. Hossein Ali was not willing to defect. He was not willing to defect. His concern was that there were 65 employees at the High Commission, Deputy High Commission, Pakistan High Commission, and majority were Punjabis and Biharis. Bengalis were in minority. And if they defected, about 20 odd were Bengalis, who will pay their salary and all. So it was ensured that the government of India, Golok Majumdar, and assured him that that will be my problem, that will be the problem of Government of India. The Government of India will freeze the Pakistan High Commission funds that are lying in foreign banks in India, and they will payment will be made from those frozen assets. So, and but it took a lot of persuasion. A special meeting was arranged that night, that 17th night. Hussein Ali, there used to be a very famous restaurant in Park Street called Blue Fox.
Okay.
Blue Fox. The owner was one Mr. Kapoor. He was persuaded. One of Golok Muzumdar's good friends, civilian friends, was one Mr. Nihar Chakraborty.
Okay.
Nihar Chakraborty was a good friend of Kapoor. He persuaded him that you have to close down your restaurant for the evening because of this meeting will be held inside your restaurant. Because Hussein Ali knew that he was doing
top secret.
it was a top secret thing. So that night also, on 17th night, also Hussein Ali had a meeting with Golok, and Golok assured that everything is okay, everything is set. He said, but we are still feeling insecure. He said, we'll have the entire High Commission, Deputy High Commission surrounded by commandos. Don't worry, nothing will happen to anybody. I will ensure security guard at all the residences, at all the residences of Bengali
High Commission
officials, Bengali officials. So next morning, this sat outside the main entrance of High Commission, Deputy High Commission, wearing a lungi and a skull cap with a mustache, looking like a boot polish wala, and asking passers-by to get their shoes polished for Rupee 1. And Rustamji was posed as a morning walker, was walking up and down the road, Circus Avenue, just to keep an eye that things were moving in the right direction. At 8 in the morning, Hussein Ali went to the top of the building, the floor, to the roof of the building, and unfurled the Bangladesh flag, lowered the Pakistani flag, and that created instantly All India Radio made the announcement that Hussein Ali had defected. Whole Calcutta just made a beeline for the Pakistan High Commission. There was such a big rush that the special Shamiana had to be put up there, where singers, musicians, artists of all description, of all disciplines, singers like Hemanta Kumar, Shondha Mukherjee, they all came and started singing songs, patriotic songs, and Banglar Mati Banglar Jol Banglar Fall, Donno Hok Hey Bhagavan. All kinds of patriotic songs were sung by them, and there was magic in the air. The Pakistanis were taken aback that another coup had been staged, and
this time on Indian soil.
On Indian soil, and no one had a faintest idea that it was going to happen. So that was a major turning point in the Bangladesh war, and the series of defections that started taking place from that day onwards. It was followed by defection at the UN, where Bengali staffers defected en masse in New York. And the same thing happened in Delhi, but things started moving. I mean,
and you covered all of these.
All this in Calcutta. Whatever was happening in Calcutta, I covered it.
And do you
And-
go in again, sir?
And then I went again via Chodana to Pabna.
Pavna.
Pabna. Pabna. That was with my photographer and another colleague of mine, Chandrasekhar Shorkar.
तो ये कुछ बात था रिगार्डिंग हिज ऑपरेशंस ड्यूरिंग द फर्स्ट फेज ऑफ द बांग्लादेश लिबरेशन वॉर. स्टे ट्यून्ड फॉर द नेक्स्ट पार्ट, क्योंकि यहां पे द सिचुएशन बिकम्स एक्सट्रीमली ग्रिम फॉर जर्नलिस्ट मानुष घोष as he almost gets shot, but he also becomes a war correspondent for the Indian Army, जहां पे वो पाकिस्तानी फौज का सबसे शेमफुल इवेंट एंड द इंडियन आर्मी सबसे ग्लोरियस इवेंट कवर करने वाले हैं. Stay tuned for the next video on journalist Manash Ghosh.